Overrated or underrated?
Oh no, dude. Oh no.
If this video gets to 400 likes, Ryan and I will do a Hyrox competition. How's it going, Fringe fam? Welcome to Overrated, Underrated, a new series that we're starting here on the channel. My name is Tim. I've owned a gym for going on 4 years now. I've been in the fitness industry for a little over 10 years. So I think I know my way around fitness as a whole. Ryan, you want to introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah, my name is Ryan. A lot of you guys know me as a salesperson here at Fringe Sport, but I've also been coaching fitness in the form of CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting for 11 years. I've worked in gyms pretty much my whole adult life. I think I know a lot about equipment. I sell it for a living. So yeah, I'm excited to start talking crap.
We're going to be taking this in tiers. We're going to start with pretty mild questions, and as the time goes on, we're just going to be raising that spice level little by little. So, Joey, what do you have first for us?
Ooh, already some
Oh, okay. This is good. This is good. Okay.
Yeah. All right, I'll go first.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because I come from a more traditional background. I think they're overrated simply because I think the vast majority of them aren't very good. And the ones that are good cost, just as much as a full dumbbell set. I will say the one asterisk, to my opinion, is if you just truly do not have the space for a dumbbell set, then I get it. But if you have the space, I think there's no reason to buy adjustable dumbbells over traditional dumbbells.
Okay, that's fair. I guess I'm saying underrated because during COVID, I trained religiously at a home gym in my basement, and I kid you not, the ceiling was probably 6 to 8 inches away from my head. So I had very limited space in there, and I bought a set of those power block adjustable dumbbells. They went up to 100 pounds. And granted, everything was price gouged to hell during COVID, but it was much cheaper than me buying a full set of 5 to 100 pound dumbbells, and I didn't even have the space for them. But I see both sides of the argument. I just think that if a company came out with a good set of adjustable dumbbells, sure, everybody should buy them, but they still haven't released a perfect set of them, so I still think they're pretty underrated.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think that you run less risk of like damaging your product, or I just think adjustable dumbbells are known for a piece breaking, and then because that one piece breaks, you have to go get a piece from the manufacturer, and then you're out of dumbbell, maybe your set of dumbbells for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Whereas most traditional dumbbells, you just don't have that problem.
What are your thoughts on loadable dumbbells?
I mean, way overrated. Those things I think they're junk.
They fucking suck.
Yeah. Why don't you go first this time?
Okay. A lot of people just don't need to train with bands for accommodating resistance. And that's coming from somebody that trained conjugate for a very long time. And yeah, I got stronger, but is it because I just got stronger at squat, bench, deadlift as a whole? Or is it because I used bands and accommodating resistance, So that's why I just think, if you do band work, sure, but I still think that band work for barbells is heavily overrated. So that's kind of why I'm just like, band pegs, you really don't need them.
See, so I get that because I agree. Not everybody should train with bands, right?
Yeah.
I think training with bands should be reserved for like a advanced to elite level athlete. But I also think that if you go out and poll 100 people who work out, if they've ever trained with bands, you'll get one person that said they have, and it was probably for some like shoulder exercise or something.
Yeah.
Right. So I do think they're really underutilized, especially for people who have been training for a number of years.
Yeah.
Right. I just think it's something that not a lot of people incorporate into their training that if they would, I mean, I've incorporated into my training doing clean pulls and snatch pulls and stuff like that. And I felt like I definitely gained a benefit. Now, maybe it's because we train a little bit different disciplines.
Yeah.
And so that explosiveness at the top of my movement is super important for Olympic weightlifting. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. I think that they're just underutilized overall in most training.
So I think we could agree that, and it's kind of like you said, it's going to depend on the discipline, because the more that we talk about it, take track athletes, for example. I've seen videos of them, even just empty bar, but with heavy bands attached to them because they need that explosiveness. So yeah, it's going to depend on the discipline. For powerlifting, I think it's overrated, but for weightlifting, I could totally see an aspect to it.
Definitely, I get that. I agree.
In 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
They're
We
just-
can agree here.
They're just stupid.
Now hold up. Here's the thing.
So
Here's the
you've
thing.
trained CrossFit, right?
I've coached CrossFit
Okay,
for a
you've coached
number of
CrossFit.
years. I coached in a CrossFit gym. Even when I was coaching weightlifting, I was around CrossFit for a long time. And so I do think in the sport of CrossFit, kipping pull-ups are very useful.
Okay.
Right? In the sport of CrossFit. Now, where I think they're overrated is a lot of times somebody will get like one strict pull-up and then they'll jump into wads and just start kipping and kipping and kipping, or trying to learn to butterfly, which is, like a subset of kipping. And I think that's where it gets, I think that's where it gets the most bad rep, is because you got a guy who can't do one strict pull-up, or maybe can do one and that's it. And then he'll jump on the bar and do 10 kipping or 10 butterfly, and he thinks he's really good at pull-ups, when in reality that's what leads to like the shoulder injuries you see with kipping. That's what leads to like the overtraining, that kind of stuff. So even as a CrossFit coach and somebody who trained CrossFit for a long time, I do think they are overrated, just simply because people don't take the time to strengthen the actual pull-up, which is the only time kipping should be used is in the sport of CrossFit, and that's if you're good at pull-ups already.
So it's kind of like powerlifting, where you'll see someone with like a 2-inch range of motion bench press. It's like, that's not impressive at all.
Yeah. It's like, I don't look, when somebody is doing a bunch of butterfly pull-ups in a row, I find that less impressive than somebody who does a quarter of that but strict.
Now, what's the reasoning for kipping pull-ups? Because I just think they look dumb. That's why I think they're
That's
overrated.
Fair. So high volume.
Okay.
Right? You're using your body's momentum to assist with the pull-up. And then butterfly pull-ups is basically kipping pull-ups with speed, right? It is a different technique. I do know that. But it's just about adding speed and then being able to do a higher volume of pull-ups. Because there's CrossFit workouts where there's 50 pull-ups, 100 pull-ups, back to back to back all in a row. I mean, Murph has 100 pull-ups in it just on its own. And so I think for situations like that, where there's just this insane high volume, like, it makes sense, right? But like I said, only if you're already good at strict pull-ups.
You heard it here first. Pull-ups.
Do pull-ups, strict pull-ups. Get good at those. Underrated, for sure. Yeah, and you want to go first on this one?
Just most people don't push themselves. They don't know what muscular failure actually is. They'll just get a little bit winded and like, let me just throw the dumbbells down right now. That's not really training to failure. And on top of that, if you're a strength athlete, learning to grind out reps is a skill that you absolutely need. Because I'll just take powerlifting because that's my background. Let's just say that a person is mid-grind in a really heavy squat. I don't know if the mic's gonna pick that up. Let's just say that someone is mid-squat, they're going for an all-time 1-rep max, and they're just mid-rep and they instantly give up because they don't know how to grind out that rep. They don't know how to continuously push themselves through that. And when it comes we'll remove compound movements from this as a whole, but even just with bodybuilding movements, if you don't actually push your body, you're never going to progress, you're never going to grow. So a lot of people will say that, like, oh, training to failure, it's overrated because you're never going to recover properly. But people don't realize you have to do a stupid amount of volume to actually be overtrained. So that's why I think it's heavily underrated. From a strength aspect, learning to grind is a skill, and you need to train to failure to do that. And with bodybuilding applications, you're not going to grow. So
yeah, and so I agree with everything you just said, and I also want to bring in the mental aspect of it, kind of like you were talking about with grinding out a squat, right? I think there's a level of mental toughness you learn when you train to failure, real failure. And I also think I put it in the same category as learning to fail effectively, right? Like learning how to bail a squat or fail on a bench or anything like that. Because if you don't know what it feels like, when the time comes when you're in the middle of the heavy squat that you're trying to grind out, if you don't know what those things feel like, then you're going to get in trouble whenever you encounter it when it matters, right? And this isn't just important for strength athletes, right? It's important, I think, for everybody when you start talking about muscle growth, seeing the maximum benefits. I think everybody should have a block in their year of training where all you really do is train to failure, right? For muscle growth, for mental fortitude, for learning how to grind out reps and stuff like that. I think it is almost never done in as far as the general populace goes. I almost never see anybody train to failure. And so I think that overall, everybody should train to failure at least once a year, right? One block a year. Ooh. Ooh.
3, 2, 1.
You know what? I'm going to say underrated. And here's why. Because Amazon Essentials gym equipment is cheap enough that somebody can try to get into fitness without the financial commitment that it generally takes to get into fitness, right? Now, of course, like tier 1 would be just getting a gym membership, right? Like you can get a Gold's membership for $35 a month or something like that. But even that, $35 a month over 5 years, 12 months out of the year starts to add up. And so I think inexpensive gym equipment, nobody should buy expensive gym equipment and plan to have that equipment for 5 years. But I think if you have a very small budget, you want to get into fitness, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going and just getting some cheap gear, making sure you're going to use it, right? Have it sit in your garage for a little while, and then when time comes, if you find you are using it and you want to save up for some nicer equipment, that's great. But, a lot of people, that barrier for entry is so high into nice gym equipment that Amazon Essentials equipment, I think, is actually pretty important to the fitness world as a whole.
Yeah. What I like to say, and it's not even just related to gym equipment, but every skill set that exists in this world, your level of skill should reflect how much you invest in it, monetarily wise. So we'll take cameras as an example because this is something that I specialize in and I do full time. Some people will come up and ask me, oh, how much should I be spending on a camera because I want to get into creating content? And people will throw me like, should I spend like $3,000, $4,000? And like the crazy part is everybody has a phone. This is essentially free. So you want to try things out, make sure that you're comfortable with it. And then when you feel comfortable upgrading, like, okay, then invest a little bit of money. So it's kind of the same thing with the gym equipment. Just start with the basics. That's why they're called Amazon Basics. Just thought of that off the top of my head.
Oh no, dude. Oh no.
What?
All right, I'll start. Here's the thing, dude. I am a chubby dude. All right. I used to be in great shape. I've gotten older. I'm getting married. My fiance loves ice cream and shit. Gotten a little chubbier. I understand the concept of body positivity from a mental health perspective. The reality is, if you are overweight, you are unhealthy, and your body is in a less than optimal position for future growth, for health long term, for all of that kind of stuff, right? So from a mental health perspective, I get it, right? Like everybody should love who they are. Everybody should accept people for who they are. If somebody, is overweight or, whatever it may be, like nobody should be talked down on or viewed as less than because of that. From a personal perspective, I think that if you are overweight, and like I said, I am slightly chubby and I know that I need to lose weight, right? But if I'm viewing it from the perspective as like everybody's beautiful and that kind of thing, right? I think it removes the health aspect from that conversation, which is the most important part of that conversation, right? It's like if you're 300 pounds and you're buying into body positivity to the extent that it's preventing you from going and pursuing a better body, then you're hurting yourself in the long run, or even maybe in the short term, right? Like health issues aren't always super apparent right away. They tend to sneak up on you. And so that's where I'm coming from, is from the health perspective. I completely understand it from a mental health perspective and feeling good about yourself. Everybody should have that. But from a health perspective, I think body positivity tends to remove that from the argument.
Yeah. I think that beauty standards are always taken in extremes. Like people are always looking at one end of the spectrum. And kind of like you said, if you're happy in your own body, that's totally fine. I'm looking at it more from the discipline that it takes to get to like a happy place with your body. So like you don't have to be stage ready or anything. Like you could be, you don't have to be 10, 15% body fat. You could be 20% body fat and be relatively healthy. I would argue that's most people actually. But the discipline that it takes for you to better your own body could also carry to other aspects of your life. And that's actually something that it's done for me over the years. Not necessarily with trying to look better, but trying to become a better power lifter. That's still a fitness element, and the discipline that I developed in the sport carried over to my job, the discipline that I have with content creation. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. If you're happy in your own body, that's totally fine. I just think that bettering yourself and your health will reflect in other areas of your life.
Yeah, and I mean, like, so little back history, just real quick. I used to be in really, really good shape. I competed in Olympic weightlifting. I wrestled in high school, and then got hurt, and then got really overweight. I was almost 300 pounds, and I'm 5'8", right? And so you guys have seen the pictures. And so I can tell you for sure, my body I've always just felt better when I was in shape versus when I was super overweight, right? And I think a lot of times it's something you don't notice while you're in the middle of it, but then you lose the weight, right? I lost, 100 pounds at the beginning from 2017 to 2019 and got back in shape. And it was phenomenal how much different I felt, not only just about myself, but just physically, right? Like my energy levels went up, my drive to be good at anything went up, right? So yeah, I think definitely is important.
Nice. I agree.
Yeah, I think lifting by yourself, everybody should do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, so one of my favorite things about working in gyms and working out is the camaraderie that comes with it, right? Training with people who have similar goals, pushing each other, that kind of thing. But I also think going back to like mental toughness and that kind of thing, if you can get your ass out of bed or off the couch, go to the gym by yourself, hit a really good workout, and then go home and relax, I think there's like a value to that you don't get if you only are going to train with somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's always somebody there to check you or push you or something, then you're never going to learn how to push yourself.
Yeah. The way I like to think of it is time management also, because again, going back to powerlifting, there were so many, and I'm sure you experienced this with weightlifting too, but there were so many times where I would be at the gym for just 4 or 5 hours bullshitting my life away, and I could have gotten that workout done in like an hour and a half, gone home, relaxed, eaten, and all that stuff. So there's an element of time management to it, and I agree with everything you said, not to downplay that or anything. Yeah, I just think that everybody should train alone for most of their career. If what gets you to the gym is being there with somebody, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
and if
great.
it's like that's getting you to the gym, that's the first step. But eventually, life's going to get busy. Your schedules aren't going to line up all the time, and you can't really depend on one person to go to the gym all the time. You have to depend on yourself. So
Who's
I
going to
think
carry
that
the boats?
Who's gonna carry the boat?
I think that a good chunk of people's training history should be alone.
Agreed. Oh,
In 3, 2, 1.
I mean, come on.
There goes our career.
I don't know. And so, all right, you know what? You go first. As a former influencer,
Yeah. The only reason I say overrated is because, and again, this isn't going to apply to all home gym influencers or all influencers as a whole, but it's almost like, and believe me, I've been through this. I get it. It's almost like a little bit of an ego boost, and then
sure.
you start to think of yourself as better than everybody else, and then you go to expos or events, and people meet you for the first time, and you're like, I get it. It's a really good feeling, especially when people come and ask you to like sign their belt or some shit. Like, damn, that's really cool. But people just really let it get to their heads, and then the second that somebody disagrees with them on something, it's like, no, I'm the one that's creating content. I'm the one that's right all the time. So that's why I just think that sometimes people just need a little bit of an ego check. And that's just influencers as a whole, not necessarily just restricted to home gym influencers or anything. If any of you watch this video and beat me at home gym con, I'm sorry. You could punch me. You could punch me in the face if you want to.
yeah. So I'm kind of seeing it from the lens of like the amount of misinformation that gets perpetuated by not just gym, like just by the influencer culture, period.
Yeah.
Right. And I think in fitness in particular, there's just so much bad information that gets put out into the world. Right. And like you said, it's not everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's some really awesome gym influencers, fitness influencers out there. but there are some really, really bad fitness influencers, gym influencers, whatever it is out there as well. And I actually, unfortunately, think that might be the majority of influencers in the fitness space is people who, consider themselves a professional despite not having any professional training outside of just working out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The other part of it is also just a lot of people becoming sellouts.
Yeah.
And again, it's not just in the home gym. In the garage gym sector of it. This happens everywhere where, I'm sure you've heard this before, like they'll do it for a check. Like any equipment company reaches out to them. It might be the shittiest piece of equipment ever, but because they gave you a $3,000 check, you're going to rave about it, tell everybody to buy it. And then 2 weeks later, the garage gym Facebook group starts bashing this product and then starts bashing your name. It's like, don't become a sellout if you are an influencer. Just don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, all right, but except I'll say 15 kilo bumper plates are not overrated, right? And so 35-pound bumper plates. So for those that don't know, bumper plates, the increments that they are in came from weightlifting, right? The 10 kilo, 20 kilo, all those. And then we just round it up or down, because we're Americans and we want it to be different, right? But 35-pound bumper plates, just buy an extra pair of 10s and throw them on there with your 25s, right? Like, as a salesperson, I can tell you the bumper plates that I've sold the absolute least have been 35s, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why if you go to our website or any fitness company's website, you'll see there's going to be a whole lot of more sets that have 10s, 25s, and 45s in it than ones that include 15s and 35s. I'm going to throw 15s with 35s as well, although I think 15s have their certain use for people who lift lighter weight and things like that. So yeah, I would just say 15 kilo plates, absolutely makes sense. 35-pound plates, just buy an extra set of 10s.
I mean, even just take it to commercial gyms. When's the last time you saw a 35-pound plate in
Never.
there?
You never see them.
Never. No one ever uses them. It's always 25s and 10s.
Yeah,
So.
and I have seen a trend recently. The more gyms that I work with, it's like everybody's not buying the 35s anymore. They'll buy the 15s, but it's 10s, 15s, 25s, and 45s. 35s and 55s just aren't used.
Yeah.
Overrated?
Let's hear it.
Here's the thing. If you're using your mirrors to stare at yourself during your workout, overrated, right?
That's what, but
Overrated.
But also, a lot of people, and I just think it's really bad practice, staring at yourself while squatting, as an example.
Sure.
You're not going to get a good gauge of like, oh, am I actually hitting depth? Do I have like good technique? Blah 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 blah. And you're not focusing on the movement. You're focusing on yourself. So it kind of goes back to staring at yourself in the mirror. If you're a bodybuilder, I mean,
That's where I'm coming
mirrors
from.
are an absolute necessity.
Yeah.
Nothing like a little bit of natural lighting that comes into the garage. You flex your bicep and you feel really like, I get it. I mean, take Sebum as an example. He's got mirrors decked out in his gym. But I don't know. I think that most people should focus less on how they look and more on how they perform in their home gym.
Yeah, and I get that. And so that I agree. I think using mirrors as like a form check is unrealistic because if you're focusing on what you look like in the mirror, then you're not going to be focusing on your form. And the reality is your form may look drastically different if you're focusing on your form than focusing on what your form should look like, right? I know like I squat in a weird way and everything. So I will say from the bodybuilding perspective and like anybody who incorporates any style of bodybuilding into their training, I can't remember, I believe it was Arnold who actually talked about having a mirror and being able to watch and the muscle squeeze in the mirror, right, is one way to learn what that actually feels like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that from your perspective, or if you're just like have mirrors up because you think every gym should have mirrors, then yeah, like you probably shouldn't have them. But if you're using the mirrors for bodybuilding purposes or something like that, I think absolutely they're great.
Yeah. You
Oh, Jesus,
motherfucker.
dude.
3, 2, 1.
Here's the thing, dude. I got friends, right? I got friends who do this. So I can't just like, call them out like that. You know what I'm saying? Here's the thing, dude. If you want to go out and earn a check, dude. I don't care.
Wait, we need to clarify though. Are they fitness influencers that happen to have an OnlyFans?
No, fitness influencers turn OnlyFans.
Oh.
Yeah. Dude, here's the thing: if you're a badass fitness influencer and you happen to go earn a check doing OnlyFans, hey, more power to you, dude. You know, like I can't hate. If you are an OnlyFans chick who also started a fitness blog or Instagram and you don't know what the fuck you're doing, then yeah, fuck off, right? But like, I don't give a fuck if somebody does OnlyFans. You know, it's like. I don't really have an opinion, but like I'm not going to hate on somebody because they're getting paid more money than me to take their clothes off. You know what I mean?
The fitness industry as a whole has become hypersexualized over the years.
True.
So it's not even just restricted to OnlyFans. Like sex sells. We all know that.
Has forever.
But because like we could even just remove OnlyFans from this. Like we'll just take a female fitness influencer. Like I'm sure you've seen this before. Come work out back with me today, but they're just you know, giving that little moon pose right before doing their back workout. So it's not even just OnlyFans. I think that it's sort of shitty that people know what they're doing and they're coming at it from the perspective of health, but deep down they're coming at it from the perspective of earning a paycheck, which again is totally fine. But just be honest about it. Like if you're gonna have an OnlyFans, embrace that shit. If you're gonna hypersexualize yourself, embrace that shit. But don't be like, you know, buy my $5 back workout and then, you know, spread your cheeks on Instagram.
I can agree with that, right? I do agree with that. Let me ask you a question. If it brings more eyes to fitness, is it a bad thing, even though there people are paying attention not for the fitness?
It's a net positive.
It's a net positive overall.
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, looking at it from that perspective, right, is like more eyes on fitness means, you know, more money for me as a salesperson, more clients coming in, more people getting into fitness. So I don't know. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Body positivity.
Ooh. God.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. I knew we'd agree on this one. We've talked about this before.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've said this too, but like people just use belts and just equipment as a crutch.
Yep.
You know, like, oh, I could lift with shitty technique, but because I have a belt on, I'm going to be safe. Like,
Yeah.
That's not how this works at all.
Yeah, I just think that I think belts are a tool. We put out a video about this not that long ago, but I think belts are a tool that you should use once you've properly learned how to brace your abdomen and create internal pressure on your own, right? A belt should just be there to help you do that, something you already know how to do, make it easier under higher load. But if you're just like, if you're putting a belt on during your warm-up or something like that, like, hey, dude, you take it off, learn how to create internal pressure on your own. Once you get to those maximal lifts, a true maximal lift, throw a belt on, right? But before that, I just don't think they have a use.
I also, just most people don't really ever need one. Like if you're never going to be competing or anything and you're just general health and fitness, you don't need a belt at all.
Yeah.
Especially if you're injured. Again, like a belt's not going to fix an injury. That's all going to come down to load management and technique.
Yep, 100%. Oh, jeez, dude. You're going to get me fucking canceled. I'm going to say overrated.
Okay.
No,
can you
go ahead.
Just because, so I've got my own reasons, but then again, I'm an outsider. So can you give a rundown of what Hyrox actually is before I say anything?
It is a cardio-based functional fitness race that is more inclusive than traditional CrossFit because of lower standards. Now, like, I do want to be clear. High-level Hyrox athletes, I'm sure, are phenomenal athletes, right? I'm not taking anything away from anybody who does Hyrox as a sport. I'm not taking anything away from people who do Hyrox for fun, right? I just think that with the downfall we've seen of CrossFit, Hyrox has now like filled that void. And and also just to be clear, I have never done Hyrox, right? I've been to a race, but I've never competed in Hyrox. So all I have is the race that I went to and the things I see online. And what I see online is people doing movements really fast with like less like subpar technique, that, you know, I mean, if it's fun, cool, go have fun. But if like, I think there are just better training methods than Hyrox if you're looking to get into that kind of thing. I personally believe that a good CrossFit programming is probably better than Hyrox. But, you know, I think Hyrox is a little bit more inclusive. So there's the benefit there because I think the barrier for entry into Hyrox is lower. And Hyrox is done competition style, whether you're like a professional athlete or not, right? So it also is a way for people to go compete in something without, you know, necessarily being pro level at anything, you know. But just like from what I see, like the movement standards are a little bit lower. There's not, to my knowledge, there's not a lot of strength other than like some sled pushes and wall ball stuff, and which is debatable strength or not. So I think Hyrox is more just like a cardio-based functional fitness that's done in the form of a race competition style. Mm-hmm. And this may be just because I come from a strength athlete background. I think like anything that doesn't have a barbell involved in it, to me, right, is like it's only half of the picture when it comes to fitness.
Yeah, that's kind of the angle that I was going to come at it from. If I had to choose between the two, competition-wise, I would definitely choose CrossFit. But again, that's just because of my training background.
We're gonna get roasted here.
Hey, I mean, if you wanna see me and Ryan do a Hyrox competition,
hey, bro!
if this video gets to 400 likes,
400, 1,000.
All right, if this video gets to 400 likes, Ryan and I will do a Hyrox competition.
And then you guys can see me eat my words. All right, guys, thank you for watching. This is our first time doing this, so if you enjoy this content, let us know. Drop us a like, drop us a comment. If you disagreed with anything we said, let us know. Or if you think we're just a bunch of idiots, let us know that. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who thinks our takes are shit. So if you're new here, please just subscribe. We're going to be putting out a lot more content like this. Now, if you're still around, thank you for sticking to the end of the video. Go lift something heavy.